Hello everyone, welcome to the Applied Theory for Beginners chapter. This is option 3, all about sheet music. Now, music theory is only fun when we can actually use it, you know? And option 3, which is what you guys chose, is all about sheet music. We're going to learn a little bit more about Italian, about how we can have tempos, tempo and BPM, and I will go over a few basic ornaments. At the end of the course, Theory for the Beginning Musician, there is a test. But this stuff is all bonus stuff. This is not going to be in the test, but since you guys are going to play a grade 1 piece or higher, then you might see one of these things. This is you can see this as some bonus material. Because we have covered already quite a few things, right? We looked at articulations, dynamics, repeat signs, as you can see all on the screen here, but there is many more things that you can find in your sheet music. Maybe you already played a piece which has something new, or if not, at some point you will find new stuff. So it's always good to know something more, this video is a bit of a bonus video on reading sheet music. And first, I want to go over more Italian, because there are a whole lot of Italian terms. There are hundreds, if not thousands, but most of them you will not see that often. There are some you will see a lot more than often. And here on the screen, I believe that these are the words you will find quite often. And it's good to at least have seen this before. And it's probably same as how you would learn any language. You just gotta remember some words. So the first 5 here are about tempo. You can find at the beginning of a piece. At the beginning you have of course your clef, time signature, key signature stuff. And above the sheet music, at the beginning, above the first measure, you will usually find something like largo, which would mean very slow. I think it's about 50 to 70 beats per minute. I will talk about beats per minute in a second. And this is how the composer, arranger, singer and songwriter can show what tempo you are supposed to play the piece. So you have largo, which is very slow, adagio is slow, moderato is moderately, allegro is fast, presto is very fast. And sometimes with classical pieces you will see in movements that, like movement 3 adagio in D major or something. You can even have titles that include these Italian terms. Then we have something you will see throughout the sheet music, ritardando or ritenuto, which you can shorten for rit and ridden, which is getting gradually slower. You have accelerando, which is the opposite, which is increase the tempo. And usually a few measures later you will see a tempo, which is by playing it in the same tempo, meaning you go faster and then return in the same tempo, or go slower and then return in the original tempo. The last two on this list, andante is moderately and vivace is lively and fast. And andante and vivace, they can give something about the emotion as how you need to play the piece. And again, there are a crap ton more on Italian words, and you will probably find some more, but I thought it is nice to have a bit of a list to add to your knowledge. The second way, largo, adagio, moderato, allegro, presto are ways to identify the rhythm, the tempo. I'm going to show you the tempo of the piece. Another way, a more modern way to do that, is by giving the BPM, which is beats per minute. And this is something you can see on your metronome. You either have a metronome in your hand, a physical one, or just on an app or on a site, which all work fine. And BPM stands for beats per minute. And you can see that here, a quarter note equals 130, meaning there are 130 quarter notes a minute. You can put that in your metronome and you can see exactly what the original tempo of a piece is. This is especially useful if you are in a group, orchestra, or band. You don't want to be the one that is practicing a piece really slowly, because then you might get in trouble when you are gonna rehearse. So knowing about BPM, as well as these previous 130, I think 130 can be called moderato. I'm not too sure, but that's something you can look up, because books, fellow musicians, teachers, Google, all amazing resources. Another thing which I want to introduce are basic ornaments. Now, ornaments is something you can also see in architecture, and it is used to decorate and give interesting and characteristics to a building. It's the same as if you would go to a church. I was once in the church in Barcelona. I forgot the name, but where everywhere you look, you saw small details. It's not really necessary for the building, but it really adds some depth and more interest to a building. And that's the same in music. It is not really necessary for the melody or for the form or for the piece, but it's a way to show off and provide a different layer of musical complexity. Now, there are two basic ornaments I want to share. Of course, there are many, many more. And the first one is a mordent. You have an upper mordent and a lower mordent. And it's here given in the sheet music. It's some kind of a zigzaggy line. And what that means is it's notated as a G, but you really quickly play the note above and go back, as it's given here. And if you have the zigzaggy line, but with a stripe in the middle, it's called a lower mordent. And that's play the same note, one below, one up, really, really quickly. Here on the screen is an example, which is from a Minuet in G, which is composed by Petzold, I believe. You can hear the lower mordent. I made some mistakes in playing, but it's about the ornaments here. You really quickly hear that tiny note. If I would not play it, the music would still sound kind of the same. The music would sound the same. It's not really necessary, but it's a way to add something to your music, and you will see quite a few of them in your sheet music. Especially if you would play classical music. I think if you would do rock or pop, it's less likely for you to see. But in classical music, I think it is. Another one you can see in your sheet music, which is the last thing, is a slur, and is a turn. It's called a turn, and it is a slurred S shape on the side, and sits above a note of the staff. And you have two types of slurs. You can also have a slur with a stripe to it. If you would have, you can see that it is played as follows: a note up, the note that is notated, a note below, and the note that is notated. And you can kind of see that in the slur. It goes from up to down. And the G is played as A, G, F, G, all within the same, and they are equally in length. And with a stripe, all notated the other way around. You can see now it is starting from a low point and it goes up, which goes up in the music. It's called a turn, and both basic ornaments you can find in your sheet music. Other types are glaze notes and trillers. every musician's favorite, right? Trellis. There are really a lot of them. And so if you would see some kind of weird shape above a note, then it might be an ornament that you have not discovered yet. And so with everything in music, I cannot give you all Italian words and all the stuff. Whenever you see something new, just look it up, because you are gonna learn along the way. For now, I want you to apply what we have learned into playing. The assignment is going to be to play a grade 1 piece, or higher, of course, if you feel ambitious, to show me that you can translate sheet music and all other words into your instrument, into your playing. That if I see a crescendo, that I can hear you actually play it. If I would see a certain tempo, that I can see that you play in about that tempo, etc., etc. Good to know that for those that feel ambitious for bonus points, to be able to get a 100 out of 100 mark, I would invite you to play a grade 2 piece or even higher, or to choose a piece that has something in the sheet music that we have not talked about yet. If you would find something new, that of course gets some bonus points. The most important thing is that it sounds consistent, that the rhythm at least is consistent. I understand that if you are a beginner, that for some instruments it's really difficult to play in tune. So if you would go out of tune, I'm not gonna judge too hard on that. The most important thing is that when I see a pianissimo on the sheet music, that I hear you play really softly. If I see a ritenuto, that I can hear you slowing down. Something we have now talked about. And if there is something new in the sheet music that we haven't done before, then I want you to look that up, and I want to hear that you now know what it is. Because that is applying stuff to your own playing. That's something I'm gonna judge most on. If you will play a few notes out of tune, that's whatever. You guys are beginners. I can't really judge on that too hard. So feel free to find a piece, and if grade 1 is still too difficult for you, you can do a more easier piece, but at least find a piece that has some kind of articulations, dynamics, or whatever. Because if you are only playing notes, then I have actually no idea if you can apply these kind of things to your playing, and then I can't really give a high grade, if you can understand that. So talk to some fellow musicians, go online to YouTube, to a teacher, find a nice piece, practice for a few weeks, and I can't wait to hear it. And most importantly, have fun while practicing.